I want to start by saying Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahabrashai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahabrashai, Kala Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Kala Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this doctrine, truth, and sincerity. Shalom to elect. The Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh, which means He is or He exists. Ba'Hashem, in the name of His only begotten Son of the world, and who He calls Jesus Christ, we know His name to be Yahabrashai, which means He is the deliverer, He is the Savior for the Hebrew Israelites, and the pedigree of Father. Ba'Hashem, in the name of the Rakah Kodash, which means the Holy Spirit, that's able to give us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of who we are, which are the true Hebrew Israelites. If you're so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American, or other speckled bird looking like the other nations, and your spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, then you could be one of the elect. Shalom. We would discontinue from our heritage because we went on following out their false gods and false idols, not following the law, statute, commandments that was given to us by our forefathers. And because of those offenses, we were sent into captivity. But through our Lord Yahabrashai HaMashiach being that perfect sacrifice in the flesh to the Heavenly Father, He's been given all power to be able to sit on the right-hand side of the Heavenly Father Yahweh, to be able to open the seals of the Holy Scriptures, to be able to give the understanding to the very elect, the ones that would hear this word and be able to understand the spirit of prophecy, which is the spirit of our Lord Yahabrashai HaMashiach in His second coming, that there's going to be a time of great destruction, mourning, sorrows, and woes, and only in Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai there is salvation for the very elect. And we pray that we're of the hopeful elect by giving diligence to make our call election short. So I want to start right here. This is from End Time Headlines and .org. It reads, Silicon Valley is prepping us for the coming mark of the beast. Right? Silicon Valley wants to put a chip in your brain. According to a report from Politico magazine, Silicon Valley leaders are openly forecasting a future in which computer chips implanted in human brains become commonplace, framing it is an inevitable step for humanity's survival. Inevitable, right? Step for humanity's survival in an age of advanced artificial intelligence. Speaking at TED 2026 in Vancouver last month, D. Scott, Phoenix venture capitalist and former founder of AI company Vicarious, told the audience that the resistance to neural integration would eventually fade. Someone you work with will get it first, and you'll hold out for a while the way you did it with the smartphone, but eventually you won't. Okay, but eventually you won't, Phoenix said. The advantages of integration will be hard to compete with. He added bluntly, we're on the cusp of the next major transition in the merger of humans and AI. This transhumanist outlook echoes sentiments long circulating in tech circles. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has described a merge as political best case scenario, a merge scenario as against super intelligent AI, while investor Peter Thau champions transhumanism, yet the implantable brain-computer interface technology remains in early stages, with current applications largely medical. Neuralink's first human patent, Nolan Arbarg, who is paralyzed, can now control a computer with his thoughts and completely continues human trials. Vast sums are pouring out into sector. The brain-computer interface market, now around $350 million, is projected to hit $1.2 billion. So it went from $350 million to what? To now $1.2 billion by 2035. Okay, we understand that Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai is shortening the days for the elect's sake. While the broader neural technology field could reach $52 billion by 2032, wearable devices already harvest valuable neural data, which is the grapho, for everything from targeted advertising and behavior insights. Gradualism. A fierce battle over brain data privacy. Data, that's the grapho. Privacy is intensifying cross party line states, including Colorado, California, Connecticut, in an uncommon sense, worldwide, all universal, right? California, Connecticut, Montana have expanded privacy laws to cover neural information, unrighteous decrees, with Minnesota considering broader neural data rights. Federal Senate Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, introduced the MIND Act to examine regulation on neural data. Data, the grapho, your information, biometrics, advocates warn of risk to human anatomy. If data is the oil, of the 21st century, then the brain data is the crude oil. Okay? So that's very important, right? The data, which is your information, okay, is the new oil, which if you have oil, you're very rich. Okay? So if the brain data is the crude oil, okay, going into actually something being embedded inside of you, the brain being the forehead, which you see with Elon Musk, right? The brain implant, okay, the Metapon, we need to guard it more jealously. From UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoul wrote. Susan Schroeder of Florida Atlantic University called the push for human AI merger very twisted, urging development, the project's privacy, and promotes human flourishing. Okay, so this is what Revelation 13 and 16, where he calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Okay, and Silicon Valley is a place where they have all these, companies, Google, Meta, Apple, Neuralink, right? Google, and they're all working on the technology to be able to bring in what the mandating of the actual chip, which is the RFID chip, okay, which is the mark of the beast, right? We're gonna go into some videos showing what the elite's plan is and breaking it down through the scriptures. Okay, Revelation 13 to 16. He calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, right now we're speaking about the brain implant, right? With the guy Nolan Arbarg, the first patient of Neuralink. Okay, now he took the brain chip, and now he's able to, play video games, with his mind. He's able to, his thoughts go on the computer. Okay, and that's their signs and lying wonders. Okay, when you go to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8, that word lying goes into the Greek pseudos, a broad sense, not what it seems to be. Okay, because this is not in this devil's MO, his modus operandi, to what? Do good. In fact, he can't do good. And if he doeth good, he doeth unwillingly. Okay, because it's not in his character. Right? His character is what? Deception, destroy, the serpent, and the sword. Okay? So the word forehead, Metapon.
Strong's G 3359, Metapon.
The face. Okay, and right now you have Ray-Ban Meta, you have Oakley Meta, right? You have Metaverse, you have these virtual reality glasses. That's the gradualism into ultimately the brain implant. Okay, you have facial recognition right now, where they scan your face wherever that you go, and they're able to throw it onto the cloud and put you in a category. Okay, because through their cameras, right? Their 5G towers and then their cameras. Okay, they're able to bring forth a profile of each and every individual. Okay, going into what your internet, what you're doing on the internet, who you subscribe to, what you buy with your debit card or your credit card. Okay, and then where your phone's going. Okay, so they're able to have a tracking system wherever that you go, because even if your phone's off, they're able to track you. Okay, so they have the gradualism of it. But what's the next step? The space between the eyes or the forehead. Okay, those are those glasses that you see, right? And then you go to the root word. Okay, meta, right? With, after, behind. So what's behind your face? The actual graven image being inside of you. Transhumanism. Okay, where they're linking you in together with their system. Okay, they're transferring your information, okay, that you have, as far as through that chip, to their systems to see who you are when they scan you. Okay, it'll be in a sequence. Okay, you would have your name, or you would have your digital ID. Okay, then your health records, your ESG, environmental social governance, your carbon emissions, because these devils want to actually track and trace your how many times you breathe. Okay, where you go, they want you to be in a 15-minute city. One of their slogans is, "You will own nothing and be happy." Okay, so the meta is what the actual brain implant. okay, the face. And they're beginning to causeth, right? He causeth, the Greek poeo.
Strong's G 4160. Poeo.
Okay, where they're actually producing these different products that they need to be able to track and trace everybody. They're building up all these data centers. People were complaining about them. What is the data center about? To be able to harvest information. Okay, and they want it what centralized, which means that's part of their New World Order. When you look at the back of our bill, Novus Ordo Seclorum, okay, which is in the Latin. Why is it in the Latin? Because this is the revival of the Roman Empire. That deadly wound's been healed, right? And you have the beast system that Daniel saw, okay, which is what NATO and EU today, okay, and America spirit in charge. America being the whore that sits upon the beast, and the whore is the one that fornicates with all these different nations, ultimately, you know, pitching to these other nations to have a new world order, okay, a one world government, one world religion, one world military, and anybody that's not down, okay, they just form propaganda or form a coup, or they go at them with that sword, okay. But all these nations, right? When you go into the United Nations Pact for the Future, September 22nd, 2024, okay, where they signed up for a digital cooperation, okay, to make everything one, everything tied into one, all your records on what that, on the blockchain, okay, on the cloud, right, AI governance. So anything that you do, right, they can just be able to bank your bank account. You say anything, they can be able to lay a snare for you, take away your money, right? And this is going to lead to a lot of people piercing so through with many sorrows. They're going to fall away from the faith because what the Esau Edom is going to be putting the pressure on them, okay? But our fear is in Yahweh Shema Shai. If we fear the Lord, then we're going to be good because the Lord's going to guide us down that straight path. But they are producing and constructing because this is part of what, in fashioning a society, this is part of what prophecy. It's a major prophecy, okay? And we're at that step where that's next, okay? The persecution and the mandating of that chip. That's why you hear these devils boasting more and more about their technology, okay? They're putting it in their constitution through these executive orders, okay? And actually they're going against their constitution. They're amending it, changing it, and speaking like a dragon, right? With draconian policies. You will own nothing and be happy. You have the big, beautiful bill. And part of that big, beautiful bill is what the sovereignty, the state and local level, they don't have no sovereignty. Okay? They don't have no rights over what the feds are going to do. Okay, they're going to be coming in like a flood. Operation Garden Plot, taking people out of their homes that they deem to be extremists or radicalists, and that's just based upon what you say. Okay, it's not even that you're actual cardinal. Okay, but these devils are going to frame mischief by law. When you go to Psalms 94 and 20, that word frameth, you go to the root word yasar, okay, which goes into siege, to bind, to distress. Okay, and that's what they're going to be coming in like a flood, cutting off your livelihood, right? Taking some of us out of our homes, right? Separating the family. Okay, that's the trial and the testimony of our faith. Okay, but in Yahweh Shema Shai, in persecution and peril, okay, in nakedness, right? The Lord, there's nothing's going to separate us from the love of the Messiah. Romans 8 and 35. And Romans 8 and 33 goes into who shall give charge to my elect. Go into that word elect, it goes into the Greek electos, which is the Lord's favorite, where the Lord has predestined from the foundation of earth to receive this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, to not bow down to the image of Baal, to carry out, to execute. So now they're beginning to carry out and execute their plan, okay, of their New World Order. And part of their New World Order is the mandating of that physical chip, okay? And you go to the word a mark, right? The word is a charagma, okay, in the Greek, a stamp and printed mark. So they want to stamp you as what, an NWO citizen, okay? And it says what, the badge of followers of the anti-Messiah. So when you go to 1 John 2 and 18, it speaks about many anti-Messiahs. Anybody that doesn't have the sound wisdom of Yahweh Shema Shai, anybody that's not following the head apostle, great millstone, the elders and the bishops of men on down, is an anti-Messiah. You have to be calling upon the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and the Lord has sent forth this order. Okay, as far as this order of men, the Lord will give us pastors of his own heart that would feed us with knowledge, wisdom, understanding, to be able to understand what the mark actually is. They would read the scriptures, and it would resonate with our spirit. Okay. Mark branded upon horses. Yeah, they see you, these international bankers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Warburgs, the Schiffs, Malachi 104, the border of wickedness. Okay, they see you as goyim. Okay, they don't see you as what people, and they want to put a chip inside of you to control everything you do. Because what Esau Edom has a God complex. He believes he's the Most High when it's just a mortal man. Carved, showing you is something physical. This word graven, Leviticus 26:1. Go into the word graven. That goes into the Hebrew pashwa, which means to be hewn, cutting. Okay, a cutting work. So into what your hand, okay, the chip in the hand, or what into the brain implant. So it's what transhumanism, and that would make you an adulterous image. Okay, and the Lord's coming to destroy all idols. Okay, and that would be a badge of servitude. Okay, just like you might have a badge at work, right? And you go in, right? You scan the badge. So now the badge would actually be inside of you, inside what your either your hand or inside your forehead, which is the brain implant. Okay, it'd be something physical. Those that take it will have no rest of the night, ulcer, cancer, missiles upside their head. They will not be safe. The Karax is the syringe they would use, sharpened to a point. So that's the syringe they would use to be able to put it inside with your hand or inside your forehead. Okay, and this would be a way that they can be able to form a military mound for circumvaluation in a siege, because that's what's going on right now. Around the world, there's a global engineered famine. Okay, and also of what orchestrated chaos, where the economies are being crashed so they can bring in what the Great Reset, which is ultimately the mandating of that chip. Okay, you have the CBD, central banking digital currencies. You have the cryptocurrencies, right? You have the digital yen, the digital ruble, right? So all these. So you have the with China, you have the digital yuan. With Russia, they have the digital ruble, and America has the Genius Act cryptocurrency. Okay, which they can be able to, again, everything digital, a cashless society. So all these top nations have their digital platform. Why? Because that's where everything is going. The dollar bill is going away, and they're phasing out. They're bringing in their next system, which is what everything centralized, so they can be able to control it. Okay, and they're forming a siege. When you go into the word siege, it goes into a period of prolonged misfortune. Okay, where resources are going to be cut. The principal things: your food, your water, your shelter, right, your speech. Okay, these devils are going to be cutting off everything, but they can't cut off the connection that we have with Yahweh Shema Shai. So that's where our trust lies in, but that's only for the elect. Okay, so in the ancient times, they would form a palisade, where they would basically dig a hole around the city, okay, and get stones and cut down trees and make it where you couldn't go in and out. So in this time, right, knowledge, Daniel 12:4, knowledge has been increased. Okay, so how they can do that is be able to have their 5G towers. Okay, and then they can be able to have an unwalled prison. Okay, and a lot of people that took that juice, now you have that stuff inside of you, so they know exactly where you're at. Okay, and in that, then you have the people that are linked in. Your phone's already being tracked and traced, right? These certain things, right? But ultimately, that phone's going to be obsolete, and the phone will now be inside of you. Okay, and many people are going to pierce themselves through what many saws, because they're going to trust in this man's system. Okay, which is a failing system. It's going to be carried headlong, right? So go to the root word. The word is grapho, right? You heard the word data, right? As I was reading that article. Okay, this is the grapho. That would be your data. It would be all your information. Okay, pertaining to what each individual. You would have what your biometrics. Okay, which is uniquely identified to you. Okay, it would be all your information. Okay, information is a revolution of uncertainty. It is process organized. Revolution of uncertainty is process organized in contextualized data that provides knowledge, meaning. Let's get a. Yeah, right here. Information refers to a process organized and intercepted data. So data is with your information. Okay, as you hear some of these technocracy people speak, they'll say data is the new oil, or data is the new gold, because you're able to be rich off it, because you're able to control the people. They don't want a nation full of thinkers. They want a nation full of workers, slaves. Okay, and that information goes into the biometrics. right? Let's just look that up real quick. Okay, biometrics are automated measurement and analyzed recognition of unique physical and behavior. So ultimately your mannerisms, how you walk, how you talk, okay, your the things that you normally do, okay, because also they want to force behaviors or behavior human, yeah, right there, behavior human characteristics used to verify or identify a person's identity. These distinctive repeatable traits such as fingerprints, facial going into the metapon, of iris scans that goes into the metapon, are processed by computer systems to enable secure, quick access to devices, system, or data. So information to what? To you. Okay, uniquely identified. And this is some of the ways, Slakia. Okay, that's some of the ways that they use it, right? You have the gradualism of it. Okay, the hand geometry, the fingerprint. Okay, so this goes into the actual hand, the right hand. You go to that word right hand, it goes into the Greek dexos, which means actual right hand, and you go to the root word of that, it goes to deklamai, which means the hand. And why would you take it? And that would, in the definition, it would grant access to be able to buy and sell. Okay, then your speech, they're able to know where you're at, right? Your iris scan is part of the face, the metapon, as we read earlier. So that's the biometrics. The right hand, right? Dexos. Okay, actually says the right hand, but you have a thing called ambidextrous, which means either hand. So when you have that oil, when you have Shema Shai is supping with you, and you have the correct teachers of the elder bishops, or the elder apostles at Great Millstone, and the elder bishops and the men on down, okay, you would go into these words, the anthromology, which is the root of the word, or the hermeneutics, the root of these words. Okay, you go right here, right, declamai.
Strong's G 1209. Dachamai.
To take with hand. Okay, Dr. Oz spoke about the chip in the hand on the show. He's in the White House. Elon Musk, he's in the White House. He has the brain implant. Then you have Trump. What? He's the cruel Lord. Okay, that's set up to cause all the things they're doing, to cause division. He's the dullard that's set up. Okay, that the Lord has in place. Okay, to ultimately stir up mischief. Okay, the face of the the New World Order. Okay, the face of the niggards, right? And then that cruel Lord is going to end up causing a division, right? Where they can send in, where they can, have martial law and lock everything down, to take with hand, to ultimately mandate that chip, to take with hand, right? To receive, grant access, yeah, because what would you want access to? Food, water, shelter, okay, just a normal convenience, okay, hospitality, okay, to educate. What are they going to educate you with? Man on man, woman on woman, bestiality, satanic worship, idol worship. That's what they would educate you with. Their New World Order doctrine. Okay, again, you will own nothing and be happy. You would see them as gods. You can't worship anything else. If you say anything against them, they'll just knock you off. You'll have a low social credit score. You won't be able to do anything. And ultimately, they can be able to execute you based upon, they could call you extremist, radicalist, right? And that's why you have to be in that secret place of Yahweh Shema Shai, because this devil could do anything. Okay, again, he's the right man of mischief. To receive favorably, yeah, you're going to have people running down to these shipping centers because all hell is going to be breaking loose because, again, there's a siege being formed. Yeah, approve, not to reject. And the scriptures speak about, when you read 2nd Ezra 16 and 68 on down, it goes into they that give consent shall be trod on their foot, okay? Because they're not going to hold you down and make you take the chip, but you're going to give, but the 2/3 are going to give consent. Why? Because they were already set up to take the chip. While the elect are not going to bow down to Im and Jabal, even unto death. Okay? Yeah, to receive. And what would you receive? The RFID chip, something that's physical inside your hand or inside your forehead. Go into the word receive. The domai. Okay, the domai in the Greek. To give. What are they going to give you? The RFID chip to track and trace you. Okay? To offer you convenience. But it's really going to be an idol. And the Lord's coming to destroy all idols. Okay, that would make you what, a standing graven image if you took that chip, right? Which you're going to get hit with the missiles if you take it. Okay, Revelation 14:9 goes into the judgment. To give something to someone. Okay, for why would they give them to him? For an advantage, thinking that you have an advantage, but it would actually be a disadvantage. Because remember that a gift destroyed the heart. And the scriptures speak about never trust that enemy, for like iron is rusted, so is his wickedness. And that's Esau Edom. He is the wicked. He is the ungodly. Okay. Supply, furnish. So most likely these things are all going to be free. They're going to supply you the chip. They're going to supply you a smart city, probably set up a home, everything that you like. And it's all going to be deception. It's all going to be deception. Okay, to give one, to deliver, deliver it right to you. You in the few minutes, boom, give that chip to you. Okay, now you think you're free. You think you don't. The scriptures speak about you done ran from a lion, then you met a bear, and then you went into a house and then a serpent had bit you. That's what it's going to be like. You take that chip. Okay, and that serpent is what what it does. The ulcer, Revelation 16:2, the ulcer, the cancer. Okay, that it creates, that sore. Okay, to give ones to care and trust. Yeah, it's going to be administered by who? Their government, which they're coming with their draconian policies, right? You just had the King Charles, where he mandated a digital ID to put it in their policy. Okay, so that's another step closer to what ultimately the mandating of that chip, and they're bringing it in an obligatory way. Look at the word obligatory. Right, means something is required by rules or law and custom. So by what their customs, they're going against their constitution. Okay, they're by coming into people's privacy and things like that, taking away free speech, and what they're beginning to speak draconian. So something is required by rules or law or custom, right? And so these are the new laws that they're coming with. Okay, so something is required because of the rule of law, convention, or moral duty, right? And they're beginning to change it, because I remember it had that word mandatory right there. Okay, but it's all good, right? We understand that this devil's coming down with draconian policies and he's losing the information war. So he's trying to take away certain things, key words that, but again, they can't do nothing against the truth but for the truth. Okay, wages, that's how you're going to be paid. You're going to be paid through that digital ID, right? The UK, they already said with Keir Starmer, he already said that if you want to work in their society, you're going to have a digital ID. That's the gradualism into the mandating of that chip. To give, what are they going to give you? The RFID chip. Yeah, what are they going to be handing out? Lots. Because your lot is, if you take it, it's going to be arrested, or cancer message inside your head. Okay? Yeah, to give one to someone, to follow him as a leader, to follow him as a master. Okay, so you see Esau Edom as your master, so you take that chip. Okay, because what the Yahweh Shema Shai is our master, and he's telling us not to. That's why wisdom is needed when dealing with the chip. To give one to someone whom already belonged to, to return, because everything's already predestined. You're already set up to take it if you do. Okay, if you're of the elect, you're not going to take it no matter what. To grant, permit one, to grant access to what? To the New World Order. You would be a New World Order citizen if you took it, right? So we went into, let's see. Okay, so let's go back to that article. I want to look up a couple words that are in here, and I got some videos. Actually, let me just show the video. Okay. So this is, let me bring up a couple articles maybe first. Right. So the WEF, right? I've done videos about this. WEF declares war on breathing. You will pay for the air you breathe. So this is your carbon emissions. This is their plans. Okay, to have an individual carbon footprint tracker. Okay, which would be what the mark of the beast. right inside of you, because that's the only way they could be able to know how many times you're breathing, your carbon emissions. Again, Esau Edom is the man of sin. Okay, this is their draconian policies that they're coming with. Okay, when you go to the whitehouse.com, so this is on their own platform, you see the eagle that's showing you that's Esau Edom. Okay, Obadiah 1, Obadiah, Jeremiah 4:9 and 16 speaks about the eagle that set that nest as high as the eagle, right? The winning the 6G race, okay? And when you go into the 6G race, you have this implantable, okay, something that's implantable, right? Salakia, bear with me. Okay, Salakia. So I highlighted, right, you have implantable technologies right there. Implantable technology. So this is in their White House, Washington, right, on their website. Okay, what they want to do. What is an implantable technology? Okay, implantable technologies are devices and materials inserted into a human body to monitor vital signs, to treat diseases. So that's what they're saying. This is, a health thing, right? Then all of a sudden you have the Hannah Montana, and they can be able to lock things down because of bringing a medical martial law. And under that medical martial law, they can be able to execute you and behead you, okay? Because they have it in their legislation, okay? As far as they don't put it exactly in their legislation, what they'll do is they'll hide it. And I've done videos about this in this right here, okay? Bringing back their NOAD laws, the 7 NOAD laws, right? The National Cancer Institute, right? The EVS, right? So National Cancer Institute. So this is what it's under, the ICD-9CM version. Okay, and what is this? This is the legal execution code E978. So it's under what their National Cancer Institute, E978, governmental regulatory activity, and they've been even speaking about the firing squad and ways of capital punishment. Okay, when you go to it, the IC9CM, all executions performed behest of judicial ruling, because everything is going to be mandated. Okay, federal beheading, decapitation, right? So right here, and this goes right into the scriptures. Okay, Revelation 24, where John the Revelator saw men beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. Okay, that word witness goes into what? To be a martyr. Okay, goes right. If you die for righteous, you go to the spirit world for righteous, there's a crown upon your head. Okay, but the point is that they have this in their legislation, which goes right along with prophecy, beheading, decapitation, right, by guillotine. Okay, so this is in their National Cancer, right, Institute. Okay, so they don't have it openly out there. They have it in what their form of basically disease control. Okay, so you go back to this, the implantable technology, so inserted in your human body. So what did the Silicon Valley, basically doctors say, right? He said they want a chip inside of you, and those are going to be the reasons to justify that. You go to the images, right? And what do you see? You see what the right hand, or the declamai, okay, in either hand. And what do you see? You see the RFID chip, okay, the Caragua, okay? And then they would use a Carax to insert it inside your hand, right? And then when they would scan your hand, right, that grapho, that data would pop up, all your information, your biometrics, okay? This is where we're at. This is close, okay, to being mandated, because all the signs what lead to the Karama. So you have the RFID chip on the left, right? So now that phone, right, when you see this, right, now the phone would be ultimately obsolete. Now it would be inside of you. Over 6,000 Swedes have microchips implanted in their hands, turning their bodies into digital ID cards. Okay, but the system isn't set up yet, as far as the actual them mandating it. Okay, so you have people that have already took the chip. Okay, but you have to wait but when it's mandated, that's when the Lord's actually going to be begin to judge, because that would be the hour of temptation. Okay. So you have that, right? And then you have, well, of course, the brain implant right there with Neuralink. This is, let me play this video. And the scriptures speak about, let me read this.
Ability for consumers to.
And so this is about, 4 minutes basically going into all the things they want to do. Okay. And even when you look at the screen, right, you have the World Economic Forum, the O, the O, the O. Then you have that half circle basically that's going through. That's the 666. This is what they do a lot of their speaking on these platforms, right? Let me get these pictures. Okay, when you go to Slovakia, let's see. Yeah, right here, as you see on the screen, right, you have the 666. Okay, so they have their symbolism whenever that they speak at these different platforms. Okay, because what are they doing? They're putting enchantments on the people. Okay, to follow what their ways. And when you go to Revelation 13:18, it goes into what the chi, the psi, the stigma. The chi, the psi, the stigma. Okay, in the Greek. Okay, and you have their symbolism in these different platforms. Okay, you have X, right, for the Twitter X, right? So that's their symbolism to that. Yeah, right here. This is the chi. When you go to Revelation 13:18, okay, goes into the chi, right, which is what them saying they are the Messiah on the left hand side, okay, and they're justifying it by their chi, which is their scientists, right, their doctors, their image, their man on man, woman on woman, their bestiality, okay, their black magic, right, and as you see, you have the 3 lines right there, okay, their symbol. Okay, so those that are simple, they're going to follow their ways because what mentally and spiritually, most people have been broken. Okay, so whatever that this government say, they're just going to follow right along with that. And so the next step would be with the stigma, which would actually be a mark, the RFID chip inside their hand or inside their forehead. Okay. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom, let him have understanding, count the number of the beast, for his number of a man, his number is 666. (666), the chi, the psi, the stigma. Okay, well, those were just screenshots from Google. The chi, the psi, and the stigma. Okay, we went into what those are. The chi is them saying they are the savior. Their psi is what their image. Okay, they're man on man, woman on woman. They're scientists, they're doctors, and the stigma is ultimately the RFID chip. Okay, it doesn't say too much right here, but when you go to the root word G4742, you have the word stigma comes up. Okay, which is the actual RFID chip. Okay, a mark branded in or branded upon the body to ancient Oriental usage, right? Usage, slaves, soldiers bore the name of the stamp of their master or commander, branded, okay, or pricked, cut, okay, into their bodies to indicate what master or general belonged to. So if you take this now, you belong to Esau, Edom, okay, and it's going to be short-lived because this devil is at his last hurrah. Okay, once he mandates that chip, that's the end all be all for him, because the Lord's going to cut him off in the fatness of his sufficiency. Okay, he's going to get a lot of people to take the chip, but not the elect. Cut into bodies to indicate what master or general belonged to. Okay, that would be that badge of servitude, the RFID chip. This would be recognition of ownership. You would be owned by this devil, and ultimately would be short-lived because what his kingdom, that would be the 6th trumpet when they mandate that chip, and the 7th is what the complete destruction. So between the 6th and the 7th, the elect are going to be beamed up into the spaceships, okay, for salvation with Yahweh Shemashai. Lord willing, we'll have that number. So a scar of service showing you it's something physical, okay. And when you go back to the article, Slack you. Yeah, you go back to the article, right? Slack you. What do you have? Silicon Valley wants to put a chip in your brain. So something to cut into your body. That would be cutting into your body. Okay, now you would have a tracker or a monitor inside your head or inside your forehead. Your head, which is the forehead, okay, or inside your hand. Right? So this is them going into it. But they're not telling you directly it's the mark of the beast. They're selling with their science, their pseudoscience, okay?
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
It will, first of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual, the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And one of
them. Okay. So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips. Right, there'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip, and you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do,
everything is in there, you know. And so they want a one world government controlled by them. Everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people, and you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better, and some people might see it as a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
Okay? And this is what the individual carbon footprint tracker. And the fat dude, he said that they will have the technology to enforce it. Why? Because the dollar bill is going away and now everything is going digital. So they can just have the technology to shut off your bank account. They can be able to bank you, okay, and take away all your money because they are on the verge, right? They're on the verge of what their new world order. As far as it, right? It says, right. This is from John D. Rockefeller, and he's speaking about the board of education. They created the whole board of education ultimately so they can have slaves, okay? And it says, I don't want a nation of thinkers, right? That's old dirty bastard on the left. I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. Yeah, these are nothing but parasites. That's John D. Rockefeller. Okay. Then you have what? David Rockefeller, right? Which we know these to be the international bankers. Okay. And the Rockefellers are nothing but a offshoot of the Rothschilds, right? They're Edomites. They're the wicked. Edom means red, going into their lack of pigmentation, right? Their blood showing through, having leprosy. These would be the people that would have the fatness of the earth. Okay, with the money system, control of the money system, control of countries, control of decrees. Okay, and if anybody comes up against them, they'll use that sword. Okay, so this is what David Rockefeller said. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis. And what do you have? You have polycrisis events all over the place. Okay, and they need that one major event like they did with the towers to be able to ultimately lock everything down. Okay, and they can have justification in what that chaos, problem, action, solution. They create the problem, the people start reacting. The solution is going to be ultimately the RFID chip. Okay, all we need is the right major crisis, and nations will accept the New World Order, David Rockefeller. And New World Order is in the Latin on the back of your dollar bill, Novus Ordo Securium. So once that dollar bill, phases out, that's their next global transformation. Okay, of their new currency. Okay, what chip will be involved with that. Okay, and we're seeing the signs of that. Right, this is right where grocery chains are doing this. Right, I did videos about this. This is grocery chains ready to implement surveillance pricing for customers. Okay, so based upon what you said on the internet, that's how much you're going to be paying at the store. Okay, right. So she has her price is $5.49, as you see on the bottom right, but other shoppers is $3.49. So this means that she was probably talking against the government, or she doesn't like something that they're doing. So they're going to have surveillance pricing. How is that surveillance going to be? It's going to be the scanning of the face. As you see, the facial recognition right there. They're scanning her face. That's the gradualism into what the chip. So you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, and how are they watching you? With their cameras? Psalms 10 and 8. Right, they sit in the lurking places. They sit in the lurking places of the villages, and they seek the murder of the innocent. Those lurking places in their eyes of those lurking places are their cameras. Okay, Psalms 37 and 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seek to slay him. That word "watcheth" goes into the Greek, or it goes into the Hebrew. Okay, which means safa. Okay, which means to spy. Okay, and that's what they're doing. They're spying on the people. Okay, particularly with the righteous, because we're armed with the armor of light. They're the ones that we want to break. They've already broken all those other people. And again, they can't break the elect because they've already been predestined from the foundation of earth to receive salvation. Okay, we are their number one enemy because we're bringing out this truth. We're telling you what the mark is. Okay, we're telling you what this devil's going to do before he even does it. Okay, and that's through the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, that the Lord will rise and shine, for the glorious light has come upon thee. Bear with me. Okay, you go into this article from Zero Hedge. BlackRock Fink issues stark warning over AI and Davos opening remarks. Okay, again, the World Economic Forum, you have the half circle, goes through the O's, the 666. Okay, this is their symbolism, showing the people who they're down with. But you have to understand what the wiles of the devil, okay, and not be ignorant of what Satan's devices. So you have, let me see, is that the video? Yeah, right here. This one I want to show.
I think the movement towards tokenization, decimalization is necessary. It's ironic that we see two emerging countries leading the world in decimals in the tokenization and digitization of their currency. That's Brazil and India. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth. We have one common blockchain. We will, we can reduce corruption. So I would argue that yes, we have more dependencies on maybe one blockchain, which we could all talk about. But that being said, the activities are probably processed and more secure than ever.
Okay, that one common blockchain is going to be what? Digital. Track it and trace you through what? The cameras. Okay, and a tokenization is what? Everything that you own will now be the government's, and then that's going to be put into basically, into the government far as what you can be able to buy and sell. Okay, you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, everything that you think that you own is now going to be owned by the government. Okay, and that's what that's saying, right? So this is what the heathen raging and imagine a vain thing. Okay, and how are they watching everything through their cameras? And now with the dollar bill, right? Because they can't track and trace everybody. Okay, with that new currency, they can. So let me get some scriptures. Psalms 37, because I quoted this. Right, Psalms 37 and 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seek to slay him. Okay, you go into this word watcheth. Okay, Safa.
Strong's H, 6822. Safa.
Okay.
Safa.
Okay. Spy. How are they spying? With their cameras? They're watching closely everything that you're doing, buying and selling already with your debit card and your credit card. The next step is the RFID chip. Okay, they have what flock technology that what scans your license plate, and it sends up where you're traveling. Basically, it's what geofencing you in, what you're subscribed to. Okay, you're subscribed to people that have views that are not of the government, because the government is what being exposed. Okay, for what it actually is, right? So they want to eliminate all those people. So they're what? Spying on those people. They're watching everybody because everybody is against them. What? Because everybody is on to these devils. Most people. Okay, but again, this knowledge, wisdom, understanding is what's important. Okay, because you can know what the chip is, but where's your protection? Where's your salvation? Okay, so Psalms 10 and 8, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and secret places do he murder the innocent. His eyes, which are his cameras, are privily set against the poor. The so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Americans, where are the ones at the bottom? In the ghettos, barrios, and reservations. He lieth await secretly as a lion in his den. Okay, yeah, a lion is a ferocious animal, and it's what keen set on what its prey. And once it comes out that den, it's coming to tear up its prey. And what's the prey? The 2/3 of Israel, the ones that don't want to pay attention. Because remember that Esau, Edom, he's not, he is the left hand of the Heavenly Father Yahweh. That's why King David said, "Protect me from thy right hand," or Saki, protect me from thy sword. Okay, which is what Esau, Edom, the left hand. Okay, he lieth await to catch the poor. He do catch the poor when he draw him into his net. Yeah, what's his net? His money system. Okay, because what? The food stamp's going to be cut. The HUD's going to be cut, right? And then what are they going to offer you? Universal basic income, 15-minute city. Okay, but with that, you're going to have the RFID chip inside of you. That's how they're going to draw you into their net, is their money system. Okay, as far as the 2/3, they're going to be drawn into that system. So what's happening is the heathen are raging, and they want to cut off your connection with Yahweh Shema Shai, with their wicked devices. Psalms 2 and 1, why did the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? That vain thing is the New World Order. The rage is the commotion that you see going on around the world. Economic failure. Cuba doesn't even have gas. Rolling blackouts, right? Mischief in every city. Corruption in every city. Civil wars. Nation against nation wars. That's the heathen raging. Okay, starting with Esau, Edom, and what? Psalms 83. Those other nations that follow right along with Esau, Edom. Okay, the kings of the earth. So these are these world leaders, right? They all signed up for the digital cooperation, okay, to bring forth what the depopulation of the earth, right? Climate change, which is the depopulation of the earth, and also the digital cooperation, which is everything being centralized, okay, and everything being what? Digital, okay, making you a digital slave, okay. the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord. Yeah, so the kings, right? You just had King Charles, where it speak about what the digital ID. Okay. Where is that? Yeah, right here. King Charles III outlines a national digital ID push. Okay, secure identity for what? For stronger United Kingdom, protecting your personal data, easy to use for everybody. Yeah, they're offering you convenience. Trusted, built with highest standards, right? Inclusive for all citizens across. Yeah, so for all, universally. Okay, so you have one of the kings right there. A despicable, yeah, a niggard king. Okay, right? Saying there's a digital ID and it's for everybody. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord Yahweh, Lord all capital Yahweh, against his anointed, saying, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." Okay, yeah, cast away with the relationship that we have with Yahweh Shema Shai, to break that relationship. But the elect are not going to be separated from Yahweh Shema Shai, because we have Yahweh Shai. We have this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Romans 8:35. Who shall separate us from the love of the Messiah? Okay, his name is Yahweh Shai. Right? There's no other name whereby under heaven whereby you must be saved. His name is Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Yahweh Shai means he is the Savior, he is the deliverer. Hamashiach, the anointed. Who is he anointed by? The Heavenly Father Yahweh. Okay. Shall tribulation, right? Because through much tribulation we shall enter the kingdom. Distress, right? You're gonna have distress where livelihood is gonna be cut, right? We're going through infirmities, right? The suffering, okay, and that's all part of the Micah 7:9. We have to bear that the righteous anger from the Lord. That's all about the trial and the testimony of our faith. Okay, persecution. Yeah, we're gonna be persecuted because of us bringing out these scriptures. Called extremists, called radicalists, a dissident. Okay, put into these FEMA camps. Some of us be beheaded. Okay, or famine. Yeah, because they're cutting off the food and the water, or and also creating hyperinflation. Okay, where even if there is food, you're not going to be able to buy it. Then you have the scanning of surveillance of the food, right? You'll have you won't be able to afford anything. Okay, right? Or famine or nakedness. So nakedness goes into when your money is gone. Okay, you don't have anything to be right, but true riches is Yahweh Shema Shai, is this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. That's the true riches, because all the cardinal things like the dollar bill, the gold, the silver, all anything cardinal is going to be what is going to be a scarcity. Okay, but Yahweh Shema Shai is going to be that stronghold for the elect. Okay, so or nakedness or peril going into the dangerous times, or a sword. Yeah, because this devil is going to be coming in with that sword. Okay, like a madman sparing none, right? To mandate that chip, which that would be the sixth trumpet being blown. Job 5:19, he shall deliver thee in six trouble, in the seventh there shall no evil touch thee. So the sixth trouble is the sixth trumpet being blown, which is the mandating of that chip, and the seventh is what the all-out destruction. Okay, so when the seventh happens, our feet have to be uplifted into those spaceships if we're of the elect. Okay, because again, the elect are not going to bow down to the image of Baal, and the Lord's going to say, come up hither, come up into the spaceships, Lord, Lord willing, we're close to this, right? Thou shalt no evil touch thee. Yeah, so the age of bad times touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death. And whose death? That's Esau Edom. Okay, he's cutting off the food supply. Okay, and it's really the Lord that's doing it. He's sending forth those evil arrows of famine. Okay, redeem thee from death. So redeem us from Esau Edom. And in war, from the power of the sword, because there's going to be wars going on everywhere. You have all these different bioweapons, these different juices, right? Esau Edom coming like a flood. Spirits created for vengeance. Okay, so the Lord's going to protect us from all those things. Okay, 21, thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue. neither shall be afraid of destruction when it cometh. Yeah, because they're going to be coming with slander. They're going to be calling us extremists, radicalists, having our family members coming against us. Okay. But blessed is when men shall revile you for thy name's sake. Okay. When men shall mock you, there's a blessing in that, because what? They hated Yahushua, and he was doing miracles, right? They hated Yahushua. So how much more us, right? And the servant is not greater than his master. So we have to be persecuted also. Okay. But in Yahweh Shemashai, there is salvation. There's hope in that. Okay. That thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shall be afraid of destruction when it cometh. So we're not afraid of the missiles. We want the missile. We want more chaos. We want more destruction, because that's the prophecy. That's the Lord's vision. Okay. Because at destruction and famine, thou shalt laugh. We're going to laugh at those times. The Lord's going to put a heavy spirit on us to laugh at cannibalism, to laugh at destruction, to laugh at a time of trouble like never before. So at destruction and famine, thou shalt laugh, neither shalt be afraid of the beasts of the earth. So we're not in because the animals are going to be tearing up shit like Jumanji, right? Then we let out the zoo, and right, then you're going to have new created beasts, right? You're going to have these animals coming from the wilderness, right, coming into the cities like I Am Legend. Okay. So at destruction and famine, thou shalt laugh, neither shalt be afraid of the beasts of the earth. Yeah, because the Lord's going to make us at peace with those beasts and with those the different weapons. Because remember that no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. NLT, you will laugh at destruction and famine. You will laugh at destruction and famine. Wild animals will not terrify you. Yeah, because Yahweh Shemashai is going to be our protection. Okay, and then all that going on, right? Esau Edom kingdom is what going down. Because what is the Lord going to do? Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty. Okay, because they're coming with craft, and I showed you in the videos. Okay, they're coming with craft because they're not openly telling you it's the mark of the beast. They're coming with deception, and they're coming with their pseudoscience. They're coming in the name of health. Okay, when it's all deception. Okay, those are the devices and evil intent, so that their hands could not perform the enterprise. The enterprise is a new world order. Okay, as we read that quote right there on the verge of a new world order. Right, where they're trying to break everybody down so they'll just comply with the New World Order of taking of the chip. Okay, but their hands cannot perform the enterprise, their New World Order. Okay, he taketh the wise, right, the wise of this world, in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. Okay, it's going to be carried headlong because there's no wisdom. There's no wisdom against the Lord. Okay, all these murmurings and all these things that these devils are doing is just to so the Lord can be able to judge them. Okay, Proverbs 21:30. There is no wisdom nor understanding nor counsel against the Lord Yahweh. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but the safety is of Yahweh. So there's safety in Yahweh. So when they mandate that chip, the hour temptation, our trust is in Yahweh Shemashai, because that he will protect us. Revelation 3:10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which is the mandating of that chip, which shall come upon all, universal, the world. You look up that word world, that goes into the Greek oikoumene. Okay, everywhere where there's commerce is going to be the mandating of that chip to try them that dwell upon the earth. Yeah, so this is a test that what the elect have already passed, but we have to go through the trial and the testimony of our faith. Behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take that crown. And that crown goes into ultimately salvation of what victory over the beast, his image, and his mark. Because those the 2/3, they're going to bow down to the image of all. Okay, they're going to take that physical chip. Revelation 14:9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, which the beast is the revival of the Roman Empire, which is NATO and EU and America spirit in charge, the biblical Edomites, the Idumeans, the one who the Lord hates. Okay, his image, his man on man, woman on woman, the revival of the Roman Empire, his whole system, right? His scientists, his doctors, okay, right? His black magic, and receive his mark, the RFID chip. We went into that. In his forehead, the brain implant, or in his hand. Okay? So you have the forehead would be the brain implant, which you see with Elon Musk, and the hand is Dr. Oz spoke about on the show. They're both in the White House. Okay? The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of our power, which is poured out without mixture, into the cup of indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, because America is going to be hit with fire and brimstone. Those Satan 2s, those Cermat 2s, those Dung Fangs, those long-range ballistic missiles are going to be fired upon America. The scriptures speak about the lake of fire, and that's going to be America. Indignation goes into righteous anger. Okay, it's going to be a straight shot of what judgment. of what? Fire and brimstone. Okay. 11, and the smoke of the torment ascended up for ever and ever, so for a long period of time. And they shall have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast, his image, and receive the mark of his name. So they're going to have no rest day or night, because when you go to Revelation 16:2, it speaks about an ulcer or cancer. Okay, no rest of the night, ulcer, cancer, missiles upside your head. Okay, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua. So the saints are what? The so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Americans. But who's actually keeping the commandments as far as following the straight path of the sound doctrine? That's the elect. Okay, NOT. This means that the Most High, Yahweh's holy people, must endure persecution patiently, obeying his commands and maintaining their faith in Yahushua, that he would be able to save us. Because we're praying to be in what? This chapter right here, Revelation 15:2. And I saw it was a sea glass mingled with fire. Okay, and them had gotten the victory over the beast. So this is going into what? The nuclear destruction, okay, of America. And ultimately the elect would be beamed up, okay, before the destruction. They would be beamed up in the chariots, and they would be able to see the mingled fire of all the destruction of what? Babylon the Great. And them had gotten the victory, so the victory over the beast. Okay, and that's only through what? Yahushua, over the beast and over his image, right, and over his mark and over the number of his name, the 666, the Chi Psi Sigma, stand on the sea glass having the harps of the Most High, right, and they sing the song of Moses. And who are the only people that can sing the song of Moses? The children of Israel. Those are the only ones that can be restored back to the Lord. And they sung the song of Moses, so the elect are going to be singing the song of Moses and the servant of the Most High, and the song of the Lamb is Yahushua, saying, great, marvelous are thy works, that Lord, thy power, almighty, just and true are thy ways, thy King of thy saints. Okay, and we're praying to be of that number, to be singing that song of Moses. Okay, the servant of the Most High, the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, that Lord, thy power, almighty, just and true are thy way, thy King of thy saints. So with that, call Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua Ba'Hashem Kakodash. Shalom to the elect. Shalom. Let's go.